p.m. Madam Clerk, do you have some preliminary matters before we take roll call?
I do not, Mayor.
Okay, we have roll call, please.
Councilwoman Leonard is not present. Councilman Martinez.
Present.
Councilman Werner.
Here.
Vice Mayor Langowski.
Present.
Mayor O'Connor.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Please stand and join me in the pledge. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Seated. Any additions, deletions, or modifications to the agenda?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I'd recommend that we pull the minutes from the consent agenda from this meeting and move it to the next meeting. We have some minor corrections and things that need to be addressed in the minutes.
Entertain a motion on city manager's request to pull the minutes. What would we do? Place them on the
Will be placed on the next agenda.
agenda?
Yes.
I'll move that we hold off on minutes for the council meeting of February 6th until the next meeting so that the city manager staff can make some additions or deletions.
I'll second that.
Roll call, please.
We have a motion by Councilman Werner, seconded by Vice Mayor Langowski. Roll call, Councilman Martinez.
Yes.
Councilman Werner.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Langowski.
Yes.
Mayor O'Connor.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Now I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
I'll move that we approve the agenda as amended.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilman Werner, seconded by Vice Mayor Langowski. Roll call, Councilman Martinez.
Yes.
Councilman Werner.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Langowski.
Yes.
Mayor O'Connor.
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0.
Comments and requests. This section of the agenda allows for comments from the public to speak. Each speaker will be given a total of 3 minutes to comment. A public comment card should be completed and returned to the city clerk. When you're called to speak, please go to the podium and prior to addressing the council, state your name and address for the record. Madam Clerk, do we have any public comments thus far?
Yes, we have a comment from Ms. Alicia Torres.
State your name and address for the record.
Hi, everybody. Alicia Torres, 5847 Liverpool Circle. I just had two mostly lighthearted questions. One, I've just been wondering lately why there's no fishing in the lakes. I know some residents got the police called on them recently, so I'm just, kind of curious about that. Seems pretty harmless. And then the other thing is that the KFC is bright, bright red. And I feel like early on in these city council meetings, the city manager was, and John Carter also, Vice President Minto was saying that there was going to be a Westlake aesthetic, and that in order to come here, you would kind of have to abide by certain, aesthetic limitations. So I'm just wondering what's going on with KFC. Thank
You are
you.
correct. I'm going to let my city manager take both those questions.
Long and short of it on the fishing in the lakes, if you read your HOA documents and the master association as well as the individuals, it clearly states that there is no fishing, recreation, et cetera, in any of the water bodies within the city. Also, on Sid's side, it's a liability and safety issue. And the lakes are part of a drainage system only. They're not intended for, never were intended for any recreational facilities. They're for drainage only. And as far as KFC, staff is working with the developers on KFC to correct some issues that we found on that.
Ms. Torres, do we have any further public comment at this time?
We do, Mayor. Mr. James, I can't read the last name. Can you please state your last name for the record?
Good evening, James Kelly, 5551 Starfish Road.
Mr. Kelly.
Westlake. Good afternoon. So I'm a tennis coach and the owner of the Jameson 30 Love Tennis LLC. For a number of years prior to building, I've been advocating for tennis. I realize tennis will not be an amenity. I understand the cost of that. However, our children that live here in Westlake have enjoyed things like basketball and swimming, of course. I have a 9-year-old myself here, and I'm just asking, why don't we just have a program? We could use the adventure park. We don't really need a tennis court per se. You don't have to make that investment. We could use the nets. I could even provide the services and the equipment. And down the road, even in, let's say, 6 to 9 months or so, the city could apply for a grant and get additional funding. Could actually even get funding to build a court if we need to from the foundation. That would be the USTA Florida Foundation. So that's my point. Why don't we just have a program? Because there's probably at least 1,000 kids who would maybe come out. If not 10%, you'd have 100. It's in closing, I know we only get 3 minutes. Tennis is a sport that we can teach them to play for a lifetime. Obesity is a problem here in the country as it is around the world. And this is a good way to address it. We could have Sunday mornings only 8 to 10, and we could have half-day summer camp. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. So tennis is coming eventually. It's planned for in our city park, which is sometime in the future.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I understood that, but what do we do with the children now as they're aging?
I'm getting there. I'm getting there. The rest of the amenities are actually completely outside the city's purview in terms of they're owned and operated by the Master Association. They're the ones who control all that. I wish the city could tell them what to do, but we can't. But I will absolutely recommend to them that perhaps we should have some kind of tennis program. We could set up kind of some kind of temporary situation. And I know they're in the plannings of building another amenity right now, which may or may not include tennis. I'm not sure, but I'll certainly find out. Thank you. Any further comments?
I have no other comment cards, Mayor.
Is there anyone present who would like to make a comment?
Sorry.
Please just state your name and address for the record.
My name is Colleen Weber. I live at 16085 Riverwell. Question about, there's a lot of speculation. I'd rather ask it here, between fact and gossip on the 60th Street Road. There's also a committee with the hammocks regarding that, about a berm, sound barriers, 5-lane highway. What are the plans and what has been approved or not approved yet?
So I could tell you nothing's been approved. It's certainly a county road, not a city Westlake road. We're not when I say we, I mean they, so far early in the process, we haven't even seen plans yet at all. So I don't know if they're in existence, but as far as we're concerned, they don't exist yet. I think they're still figuring all that out.
Okay, once they have the plans, is it going to come back to Westlake to approve or modify things a little bit? I'm just trying to understand the flow
As
that,
far as I know,
When it-
it falls completely within the county's purview. I'm sure they will listen to us to some
if Minto is
degree.
involved with those plans, do they need to go, because if Minto is a developer within Westlake, do those plans need to go back to you and get approved before Minto gets involved?
No, ma'am.
Just trying to figure out how,
No.
and I'm not saying that.
It will not come before the city council.
It will not.
Correct.
It will come within the county?
It'll be in
Yes,
front of
ma'am.
the county commission.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Do we have anyone else who would like to make a comment in the public at this time? Okay, moving forward. Consent agenda. This section of the agenda consists of routine or administrative items that require final approval by the city council and may be approved in its entirety by a single motion. There'll be no discussion of these items unless a council member requests such, in which event the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered on a future agenda. A motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion to approve consent agenda.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilman Martinez, seconded by Councilman Werner. Roll call, Councilman Werner.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Langowski.
Yes.
Mayor O'Connor.
Yes.
Councilman Martinez.
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0.
Here. Moving forward to proclamations, I've got 3 proclamations to read. The first being declaring March 2024 Let's Move Palm Beach County Month. Whereas the city of Westlake takes special notice and acknowledges exceptional organizations that help residents who live, work, and play within the jurisdiction. Whereas in 2010, Digital Vibe was founded to reach out to underserved youth in Palm Beach County by empowering them through dance, fitness, technology, and the arts. Whereas Digital Vibes partners with the Palm Beach Health Foundation annually to host the Let's Move Commit to Change Physical Activity Challenge, a county-wide initiative that focuses on physical activity, nutrition, and healthy behaviors. Whereas Digital Vibes Inc. and Palm Beach Health Foundation present the annual challenge, which takes place annually from March 1st to 31st, and encourages individuals within and beyond Palm Beach County to take charge of their health by participating in fun fitness exercises. Whereas Let's Move initiative was originally introduced on a national level by First Lady Michelle Obama in 2010, and the goal of decreasing childhood obesity throughout the United States due to the fact that nearly 1 in 3 children in the United States are overweight or obese. And if this problem persists, 1/3 of all children born in 2000 or later will suffer from diabetes at some point in their lives or will face other obesity-related health problems such as heart disease, high blood pressure, asthma, and cancer. And whereas Digital Vibes and the Palm Health Foundation invite all residents to take the challenge to move by forming teams, registering online, committing to exercising for at least 30 minutes a day throughout the month of March, and logging their minutes on the Let's Move website, www.letsmovepc.org. In 2012, Palm Beach County logged 100,000 minutes in the first year of the challenge, and we have met the challenge each year since, rising in 2023 to over 100 million minutes logged. Now, therefore, on behalf of the City Council and the people of the City of Westlake, I, John Paul O'Connor, Mayor of the City of Westlake, by virtue of the authority vested in me, do hereby officially proclaim and recognize the month of March as Let's Move Palm Beach County Month, and urge all citizens to join us in moving to improve their fitness, mental health, and overall health. Next proclamation, Women's History Month. This was sponsored by Vice Mayor Langowski, which I will now read into the record. In 1987, the United States Congress named the month of March as Women's History Month in special recognition of the many contributions women have made to our country's history and heritage. Whereas the City of Westlake is proud to join the celebration of Women's History Month in the 2024 theme, Women Who Advocate for Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion, recognizing women throughout the country who understand that for a positive future, we need to eliminate bias and discrimination entirely from our lives and institutions. And whereas American women have played a unique role throughout the history of the nation by providing the majority of the volunteer labor force of the nation, and whereas American women have been leaders not only in securing their own rights of suffrage and equal opportunity, but also in the abolitionist movement, the emancipation movement, the industrial labor movement, the civil rights movement, and other movements, especially the peace movement, which create a more fair and just society for all. Whereas despite these contributions, the role of American women in history has been consistently overlooked and undervalued in the literature, teaching, and study of American history. Now, therefore, on behalf of the City Council and the people of the City of Westlake, I, John Paul O'Connor, Mayor of the City of Westlake, by virtue of the authority vested in me, do hereby officially proclaim and recognize March 2024 Women's History Month. Be it further proclaimed by the City of Westlake, this proclamation is duly sealed, ribboned, and approved by the members of this council. Foregoing proclamation was sponsored by Vice Mayor Greg Langowski, and upon unanimous consent of the council, the mayor declared the proclamation duly enacted. History. Please. Let's move Palm Beach County. And now for the bicycle one. Whereas the City of Westlake residents and visitors engage in bicycling as a viable, environmentally sound form of transportation and an excellent form of physical activity and recreation, and the state of Florida designates March as Bicycle Month, and Palm Beach County will recognize it locally. And whereas Florida Bicycle Month features a number of fitness opportunities and events for riders of all ages, to enjoy throughout the month at various parks and locations throughout Palm Beach County. Whereas the recognition of Florida Bicycle Month will raise awareness of bicycling and ultimately promote physical activity and healthy lifestyles by elevating bicycling as a more widely accepted choice of transportation. Whereas the Palm Beach Transportation Planning Agency plans and recommends projects to make bicycling more accessible and promotes comprehensive community education efforts aimed at improving bicycle safety. Whereas Palm Beach County has an ever-expanding designated or enhanced bicycle lane network with over 250 miles of existing and 745 miles of planned facilities to create a safe, connected system of bicycle infrastructure. Now therefore be it proclaimed by the city of Westlake, assembled in regular session this 5th day of March 2024, that the month of March 2024 in the city of Westlake is hereby proclaimed Florida Bicycle Month. Be it further proclaimed by the city of Westlake that this proclamation is duly sealed, ribboned, and executed by the members of this council. Foregoing proclamation was sponsored by the Honorable Vice Mayor Greg Langowski, and upon unanimous consent, the council, the mayor declared the proclamation way back enacted. Florida Bicycle.
No applause.
I like bikes.
I do too. Ultra bike.
And we've got one more, folks. We have before us a proclamation for Water Conservation Month, sponsored by Vice Mayor Langowski, for which I will now read into the record. Declaring April 2024 as Water Conservation Month. Whereas water is a basic and essential need of every living creature. Whereas the state of Florida Water Management District and the city of Westlake are working together to increase awareness on the importance of water conservation. Whereas the city of Westlake and the state of Florida has designated April, typically a dry month, water demands are most acute, Florida's Water Conservation Month, to educate citizens how they can help save Florida's precious water resources. Whereas the city of Westlake has always encouraged and supported water conservation through various educational programs and special events. Whereas every business, industry, school, and citizen can make a difference when it comes to conserving water. Whereas every business, industry, school, and citizen can help by saving water and thus promote a healthy economy and community. Now, therefore, on behalf of the city council and the people of the city of Westlake, I, John Paul O'Connor, mayor of the city of Westlake, by virtue of the authority vested in me, do hereby officially proclaim and recognize April 2024 as Water Conservation Month. Be it further proclaimed by the city of Westlake that this proclamation is duly sealed, ribboned, and executed by the members of this council. The foregoing proclamation was sponsored by the Honorable Vice Mayor Greg Langowski, and upon unanimous consent of the council, the mayor declared proclamation duly enacted. Let's clap for a while. All right, no more proclamation. Off goes off the list. I will sign them. I will sign them before I leave. All right, public hearing. MPA 2023-04 submitted by Planning and Zoning. We have before us an amendment to the application for a master site plan for Pod H. Do we have a staff presentation?
Mr. Mayor, if I could, all those individuals could have testified, just raise your right hand and be sworn. Solemnly swear to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth. Please proceed.
Good evening, council members. For the record, Osnia Leon, planner for the city of Westlake. Before you is MPA 2023-04. It's a request for a master site plan amendment for a 50.8 acres of commercial plaza in Pod H, fronting Seminole Pratt Whitney Road. The subject site is approximately 50 acres. It has a future land use of downtown mixed use and a zoning district of mixed use. The request before you is limited to parcel B, parcel C3, and parcel F. Parcel B requesting to modify 2,572 square foot banquet drive-through use to a fast food restaurant with drive-through. Parcel C3 is increasing the allocation of the fast food with drive-through by 238 square feet to accommodate a minor increase in building area for Taco Bell. And parcel F is creating 3 sub-parcels identified on the master site plan as parcels F1, F2, and F3. Parcel B and parcel C3 have concurrent site plan applications that are being presented before you tonight. Some background, the Pod H was originally approved in June 14, 2021. It was a unified development under a common ownership and unit of control and managed by a property owner association. On November 22, 2021, City Council approved an amendment to the master plan to eliminate lot lines between parcels B1 and B2 and parcels C and D, and the subdivision was by meter counts. In January 18, 2022, the City Council also approved an amendment to specifically to parcel G to convert the office use entitlement to light industrial and increase the square footage from 158,000 square feet to 227,000 square feet. In June 6, 2022, there was another change for parcel A2 and parcel B. Parcel A2 reduced in square footage of a fast food drive-through from 3,500 to 2,500. And parcel B was modified to eliminate 3,972 square foot restaurant in the north building and replace it with 2,572 square foot banquet drive-through and 6,878 square feet of mixed use. The request before you, again, is to modify the square foot banquet drive-through, replace it with fast food restaurant. Parcel C3, again, so increasing the allocation of the fast food by 238 square feet. There's also a request to remove some outdoor seating and some minor changes to the elevations. Parcel F, again, is subdividing the parcel. Now is going to be parcel F1, F2, and F3, and it's done by leaps and bounds. The application has been reviewed by staff and it complies with all the zoning code and landscape and drainage, traffic, fire safety. And planning and zoning and engineering department recommending approval of the requests with no conditions. Yeah, I would answer any questions. Thank you.
Council, do we have some questions?
First question comes to mind, if we don't approve the bank to fast food, what happens to that? It's only stuck as a bank?
Just a history of it. That location was fast food restaurant. It went to a bank and it's going back to the fast food restaurant. It doesn't get approved, then it's a bank still will be approved as bank.
We have some background on what happened. Did the bank pull out? Is the fast food restaurant giving them more money? We know what the fast food restaurant is.
I don't know how that is specific.
Respectfully, sir, that's not an issue before you. You need to keep it in the context of the zoning. It's really not, you can't consider.
Any of those questions I asked or not?
Not within your purview of review for zoning issues.
You speaking to the microphone.
Respectfully, I would suggest you keep your questions poised and framed within the context of zoning, not within the business relationship with the developer and its proposed tenant.
Okay, let me rephrase my question. It was originally approved as a fast food restaurant.
Correct.
Then this body approved a change of use, or did we add an additional? Like, did we just make it fast food / bank?
So it was approved as a fast food with drive-through. Was approved again as a banquet drive-through replaced. And the request now for that specific area is to go back to the fast food restaurant.
So this is a second amendment. It was amended first
First,
to go to a bank. Now it's being amended again to go back to fast foods.
What's the general use? Is it mixed? Is it
Yes, correct. The whole development is a mixed-use development. And all of these uses are permitted by right under the mixed-use zoning district.
Okay. Thank you. That's my question.
Well, you said it's permitted under the mixed use, but it just needs to be solidified as fast food versus bank.
That question?
Well, we're saying under mixed use, you can already do fast food. So why are we having to approve it as fast food? That's what I'm asking.
Every application, because city council approved it as a because of the change and the intensities being, there are other changes as well on the application. It needs to be approved.
This is a site plan amendment, not a use.
Correct.
So if they're specific site plan.
Right, there's a development order approved at this site, so any change will have to be approved.
The application has an MPA prefix, which is a master plan amendment. The master plan amendment refers to what?
Master plan amendment is, the master plan is the overall, that encompasses the overall pod page,
Okay.
and that's what's being changed.
Does that have any bearing on the comprehensive plan? So it's not changing the comprehensive plan?
The future land use and zoning districts are not being amended. There's no request to amend.
The MPA, the master plan amendment that we're looking at, when it's approved, how long is it good for?
Because this is an amendment, the application would be approved because there has been a building, the site's already built. If it wasn't built, they already have 5 years of expiration date. Because this is amendment, the plaza has already been built, the building permits have been pulled, there's no expiration.
Mr. Attorney, is that correct?
I'm not sure I understand the answer. The approval is good for 5 years. So that doesn't change with the permits being.
In the last since 2021, June of 2021, I believe, is when it was first amended or first created.
It's originally approved, yes.
And there were, as I read it, 4 amendments to the master plan for this site. 4 amendments between June of 21 and June of 23.
Correct.
That's correct. This will be the 5th amendment. In your city application forms, you have a request for estimated project cost.
Right.
What is the purpose of that?
Right now, the zoning code does not have a requirement for, at this point, to provide a cost estimate. But sometimes we want to know for new applications, we do have an arts and public places ordinance. If the project is $6 million or more cost, that triggers. But again, this is an amendment, so it's not a brand new project.
So you're saying, are you saying that in the original amendment, there was a cost estimate?
The beginning of the
Yeah.
approval, again, it's not a requirement.
But it's on the application form.
It's on the application form, but it's not a requirement of the zone.
So you gather from your response that it's to estimate arts and public places revenue?
The art, yes, we want to know sometimes but when these applications were created, the arts and public places was not in place. But now it's something that we want to know for implementing the arts and public places.
So it's optional. The applicant doesn't have to give you that information.
Yeah, the application is general, so sometimes some portions are not applicable.
Okay. Any questions I have of staff? I have more questions for the applicant.
I was actually going to ask if does Mr. Hearing have anything to add in this part?
Next is the application from there's a presentation from the applicant. That's the next one. Yes.
So I'll start off, if you all don't mind. Catherine Rossmo with Lewis Longman and Walker here on behalf of Minto PBLH LLC. We have a PowerPoint presentation for you, but I'm going to start by just sort of addressing some of the general council questions because I think it would be useful to set the framework. So under the city code, a master plan is required for plans that are to be phased, such as the one before you here. The purpose of the master plan is not identical to the purpose of a site plan. While the site plan provides the more specific details for each of the individual parcels, the master plan is really put in place and pursuant to the words of your code. It is sequencing of phasing for the purposes of determining service availability. So that's its main function. So the requirements of the master plan really relate more to density, intensity, ensuring that everything will be in place to serve that development at the time it is required. So master plan amendments generally sort of speak to that purpose, whereas the site-specific uses and those kinds of things that come before you, those are really related to the general site plan. I also wanted to just sort of address your question related to the timing, because while city staff is correct that generally all approvals, unless they have a different deadline set in your code, are 5 years. However, in Florida, you can acquire vested rights by continuous expenditure of funds and effort into a particular property under an accepted pattern of development. So in a case like here, where there's been a substantial change in position based on approvals, such as the master plan, that can lead to a situation where the rights are vested, which would speak to Osneil's point that at some point, that particular site plan loses its ability to have an expiration date. So with that in mind, I just want to sort of take a moment to go to general site plan review, unless you all have any questions about what I've just said.
So I think I hear you saying that the 5-year expiration that staff indicated really wouldn't apply here because of the vested rights already on the property.
So I think that's the position that we would certainly take, given the how far down the road that is. That doesn't mean that all master plans would receive that same benefit, and 5 years would be the typical asset under the code, but where there's been substantial reliance and a change on position under Florida law, that is often understood to lead to vested rights.
So your words would basically mean that it's an indefinite approval.
Well, yes, somewhat. So once you've started down the road of it, the approval that has been relied on can't be yanked back by the government. And there's plenty of case law on that point, but I'll just quote you one of my favorite one, which is the theory behind vested rights is that a citizen is entitled to rely on assurances and commitments of a zoning authority. And if he does, the zoning authority is bound by its representations. And that I can give you the case law if you want, but it's pretty well established.
Okay, can I ask you a question? Sure. Back to the phasing.
Yes, sir.
That you brought up. You're right, the code does say that if the project is phased, it should be under the master plan approval process.
Yes, sir.
Which is what this is. So everything that's there now, the storage, convenience store, and Starbucks, and Kentucky Fried Chicken are phase 1, I think.
I believe in this case, the phase 1 was considered smaller. Which it was just Taco Bell, right?
Seven.
Seven.
Excuse me, sir, are you sworn? Okay, thank you.
In your application, you indicate everything else, including what we're looking at tonight, is phase 2, but there's no sequencing. It's all subject to market demand.
Sure.
For the record, Donaldson Hearing here tonight on behalf of both Minto and the applicants before you tonight. This project has 2 distinctive phases of development. First was 7-Eleven, which was completed. Actually, 7-Eleven was under construction, I think, at the time that we came through with the master plan. Everything else is phase 2. The elements of phase 2 are 100% implemented. So we're talking about the phase 2. The requirements of the master plan are to implement the infrastructure to provide the services to the parcels. Order in which an individual parcel or building is built is really irrelevant under the provisions of the master plan. What was important was all the roads, all the sewer, all the water, all the reuse water, all the common landscaping and signage was put in place. So those are the elements that are required by phase 2. The individual lot could be built whenever at any sequence in which those would be intended. Of course, we've had a logical sequence that we've moved forward with the parcels on the front and now moving forward with the parcels on the back.
We, Mayor asked earlier of staff, but it was not appropriately addressed to staff, and I'll try it again with the applicant. The TD Ameritrade Bank that was approved, and many people here understood it was going to be constructed and operating, is no longer there. Is there a infrastructure or city reason for that happening, for them moving out of the situation?
I would tell you that all of the amendments, because I noticed there was a comment that there's been 5 amendments, so 4 amendments, we're in our 5th. All the amendments that you see are in a direct response to the actual market demand and market requirements. So, this is a new market. When we started out here in Westlake, back in 2013 and now into 2024. But when a developer, the folks from Conover South are here today, when they start, they have their best estimate of who their tenants and what that tenancy might be. Well, in the world that we live in today, things and markets change very, very quickly. We started out very, 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 very strong. The retail came in. Then we had some warehousing in the back. Warehousing at the time that came forward with the Commerce Center that was in the back, there was super strong market demand all over the country. That was where the market was. Well, that market is dead today, as the office market and many markets in the country are dead today. Well, the same thing happened. The world of banking is changing very, very quickly. So TD Bank had a letter of intent. Actually, there was a lease in place that they were wanting to go forward with. And as they began to relook at their market plan, they decided that we need to change. It's a corporate decision, as you're seeing changes today at the corporate level all the time. And so, our development community, and we're lucky to have a great developer like Conover South, because they're able to quickly respond to those changes in market. And I think what they're coming back with is, in their opinion, going to be more viable and create more of that 24/7 type of an environment that we would want at that commercial center to begin with.
So just to follow up on the bank issue, I think I hear you saying that the market demand that you're indicating in your application, which dictates the phasing, is really the market demand of the end user, who is saying, well, our market demand is strong in this location, therefore we want to locate there. Is that correct?
You can look at market demand anyway. You're looking at it down at the micro level. Let's look at it basically in the class of retail, or the class of office, or the class of industrial, or the class of financial institutions. Financial institutions have changed significantly. And I don't know why one financial institution makes a difference, but you're seeing very few branch banks built today. And when they are, they're very discretionary. I mean, we will be seeing one coming up shortly, but there's very few that are in the marketplace. There's just that demand changed. And so the developer had to shift gears to another use that's permitted by right in the zoning code.
So if TD Ameritrade says their market demand is no longer valid for this location, does that apply across the board to other banks as well?
It's irrelevant.
Yeah, I would say respectfully, Councilman, I think your attorney's point earlier was well stated, which is that the questions that you're asking are not really related to the code provisions that are before you tonight, and the private business dealings are.
One that is. When you have other drive-through fast food locations already approved, why change this particular former bank site to a fast food drive-through?
So the master plan, again, is really related to the services and making sure that they're in place. And so there are methods that are used when evaluating those to ensure that the traffic, that the water, that the sewer, that all of those things are in place. As Mr. Herring has indicated, the uses that are being proposed are permitted by right in the code as of today. There's no code change requested. There's no comp plan change requested. They're permitted in your code at the moment. So the particular business reasons that lead up to these decisions, with great respect, sir, are not before the council this evening.
Well, I would differ with that because it seems to me that there are options available, and you could be designating the site mixed use.
It is, sir.
and leaving it as mixed use because, as you already noted, the zoning allows the uses that you're proposing.
For the record, we're not changing the zoning and we're not changing the land use of the property. It is mixed use. This is a mixed use center. When we have restaurants of a certain size because of parking ratios, we designate them one use or another to regulate the proper amount of parking on a site. But this is mixed use. And again, this is a use that's permitted by right.
Well, then if we were to not approve your request and leave it as is, you still can come back with a site plan amendment if you have a drive-through proposal, a specific use.
Well, there'd be no basis for denying our request because it's a use that's permitted by right. There's no, you might want a bank, but the market doesn't want a bank here. Market wants another use here today. And your staff has told you that this is 100% consistent with your code. So there would be no basis for you to say that you want one use over the other use. It's really what's before you by the applicant.
Well, I would just differ with that opinion, but you're entitled to making that
I mean,
statement.
the way I understand it, it's not necessarily the market is saying we don't want a bank there. It's that specific bank, TD Bank, who's decided no longer to make the investment into Westlake, the way I understand. That also being said, not all fast food is created equal. I would certainly get chastised by the entire city of Westlake if we said no, and that was Chick-fil-A coming into that spot. I would be the most hated person in Westlake. I'm going to say that on the record. I understand the concept of landowners, Conover South, should be able to lease the space to who they want. It's their land, they bought it, as long as it fits within the uses of the code. If that's what I'm hearing from you guys.
Yes, that's correct. If I may, for the record, my name is John Carter. I'm a senior vice president with Pinto. Councilman Warner, if I may, take a few moments here. Maybe paint a little bit of history as council knows I tend to do, to help maybe explain where we are today. And with the very quandary that you're, and I'm saying this very respectfully, you're down here in the weeds and you're wanting to exert your will on market forces, which is why the code has been constructed, not only here in Westlake, but in any number of other jurisdictions. What happens here happens elsewhere. So if I may, a little bit of history. Back in 2014, 2013, when we started our effort to find a way to launch the commercial, the non-residential aspects of Westlake, it became very difficult. I had some early successes, with Christ Fellowship, with the tax collector, with some other uses to, sell a 10, 15, 20 acre parcel to get those uses coming into the city of Westlake. As Osneal noted, Pot H, as I call it, which is now Westlake Landings, was a 50 some odd acre parcel. There was no appetite then or today, candidly, for a developer to come in and say, we want to buy a 50 acre parcel. So then I sat back with my team and I said, well, then under the code, what are some avenues that I could take as an approach to curate a concept to bring in multiple of uses instead of going out and elephant hunting for one big user, because those were few and far between. And so under the city code, as Catherine and Don noted, there's this notion of the master plan. You heard all the reasoning for it. And for now Minto as the landowner to create a plan that would have multiple uses under this mixed use development allowed me then to come in and put in some of this spine infrastructure to accommodate the 7-Eleven and then for the balance of the 50 acres. So as Don noted, the 7-Eleven came in and we put in all that spine infrastructure. And then I was able to move forward with a couple of other transactions within the parcel, Conover being one, the self-storage being the other, the business park behind the Conover site, and more importantly, the Adrenaline World site.
which is parcel F that was noted earlier. Again, I'll go ahead and disclose it, and I know the community's been very interested. Why isn't Adrenaline World here today? And that was embedded in the original master plan. Well, for whatever reason, that investment group that wanted to buy that site never closed. I gave them multiple extensions. I worked with them at length to attempt to find an avenue that would open up for them to come in and do that development, and never materialized. So there, in that case, I had now a 14-acre parcel, and I had to back up. And now I've found another development plan where I took that one 14-acre parcel and could carve it into 3 smaller parcels, one of which is under contract today. Whether you can't disclose. Okay. So one of those sites is under contract and is predicated on setting the table to remove the Adrenaline World approval so that this new use at a subsequent date can go before this council for approval. So much like the Adrenaline World site, why I love it, why I wanted it, why I advocated for it. But unless someone's going to build it, operate it, and maintain it, there's nothing I can do. Much like Conover, who's dealing with 11, 15,000 square feet of various uses, they're going to have individual tenants that may come and go. So what they build today might not be there in 10 years. Under the kit of parts of the city code, Conover or myself or any other developer knows what can do or can't do. And that's the whole guardrail system of having the city code. If the infrastructure is in place, if it can be supported and is allowed by code, then it should be allowed to be developed.
What is the relationship between Conover and Minto?
I would say very good.
What is the legal
I have,
obligations between Conover and Minto?
Conover has closed on the property, as is with all Minto transactions. We retain certain rights to review and approve and consider any plan changes. So everything Conover is presenting for you today, I've already reviewed and found it to be consistent and compliant with, the original vision that Conover's laid out.
Okay, well, here's my concern. Our master plan, our comprehensive plan indicates that we're looking for a balance of commercial uses. And you have 3 drive-through facilities approved. You're looking for a 4th one. I don't consider 4 drive-throughs within the same 500 feet of frontage to be a balance.
Well, please go right ahead.
Hi, Catherine Rossmill again. So your comprehensive plan actually specifically describes what consists of a balance of uses. There's a table and it lays out by acreage and percentage of what those mix of uses are. So the question of balance is not necessarily a personal opinion of balance. It is specifically provided for in the code what that balance means. A certain percentage is residential, a certain percentage is commercial, and that is specifically laid out. So that balance can be achieved, and we are consistent with a balance that's specifically provided for in your comprehensive plan.
Fair enough, that's how you see it, but I see it otherwise. I think 4 drive-throughs right in a row becomes a drive-through haven. And this is not the only site. There are other developers, maybe yours, that you also have approved drive-throughs, I believe.
Well, if I may, if I can extrapolate this out further, if I may, Councilman. So as we sit here today, I am deep in discussions on what I call the development of Pod L, Pod G, which are the 2 town center projects. So as I engage in those discussions, there are hundreds of thousands of square feet that will be developed in there. It will, without a doubt, be the most intensive development and the most expensive development that is undertaken here in the city of Westlake. And so my counsel to this council, if I may, is that when you immerse yourself to this level of debating whether or not it's a code or not, but debating where you think driveways and drive-throughs should be located, this is going to be exponentially become more complicated as I engage with those developers to bring in that form of development. Which is why when we originally worked with the city to create this Crow code, it was to set up those guardrails so that there could be assurances on what would be developed, how it would be developed, and how it would look, so that there would in fact be preservation of the quality that everyone sees, loves, and enjoys today. I would just caution this council to not immerse yourself this deep into this level of discussion, because it's going to become quantumly more difficult given what I know is in the pipeline and what I'm discussing today.
I appreciate your point of view and where you're coming from. I've been on that side numerous times in the past, but there's also another side, and the side that I'm hearing from, these are people that I talk to on a daily basis. Some of their comments, it is very disappointing and concerning what is happening with Westlake. These are not just things that I'm going to be telling you. I think you're going to be hearing this into the future. The community is becoming a drive-through and not a destination. There's little reason for people to visit and spend money here. I expect fast food license will probably be approved, and it probably will be. If we really had a voice, we would want to stand up and speak strongly for the residents, the people that you've been selling homes to,
Absolutely.
who are looking for some of the businesses that you've shown them are coming, but haven't.
And that's why I'm here tonight, Councilman. I'm here attempting to give you that understanding and that look ahead that it's coming. And it's not here today. And don't get blinded by a drive-through application that you see today with what I know is in the pipeline and that literally I am feverishly engaged with hours out of every day, working to diligently bring and attract to the city. I will tell you right now, Conover is probably one of the best I've worked with. And are certainly on par with other groups who have expressed interest with what I call Pod L and Pod G. Absolutely be a wet blanket if, and let me just throw this out here, the city council begins denying applications that are by right. That will put a wet blanket on the development community's interest to come to this community and invest the magnitude of dollars that are in play when they don't have the assurances of confidence, predictability that what is allowed by code can in fact be built. Because those are the guardrails that have been put up place today. I mean, that's your prerogative. But then I'm just sharing with you that's going to just protract my ability to find a true quality builder to come in and execute with the precision and the expectations that we all have.
I hear you. Can I continue?
Sure.
Well, with Mr. Carter, is the recent decision from ITID and the lawsuit on Persimmon have anything to do with perhaps delays in the developments that people here have been expecting?
No, sir. No, sir. To your question, what is currently underway with ITID is completely.
I'm going to ask that my client not talk on
I
ongoing
respectfully,
litigation.
I think it's completely.
I'm going to ask my client not to speak on ongoing litigation. Thank you.
I afford you the latitude because he was willing to, I would strictly ask
I
you
mean,
to
we're
stay
completely
to
off
the
topic. We're talking
application.
about a code change.
for-
That's like.
Let's get
If-
back online.
if
Both
I may.
parties- Excuse me, both parties, let's focus on the application.
Okay.
You've had the latitude to discuss ancillary issues. I'm asking for the integrity of the record that we maintain our focus on the application before you.
Okay, I'm
Thank
done.
Is anything that the applicant is asking for outside of the permitted code?
No.
Can we see the presentation?
Sure. And so I'll start with some legal framework that I think that we have started to cover, but just as basics, and most of you will have heard my or one of my partners say this before, site plan review in Florida is really an administrative procedure. Once the applicant has met the burdens of the code and shown that they are compliant, the burden shifts to the city to say otherwise. The applicant must be afforded due process. If I could do the next slide, please. Okay, if you could have the next slide, please, that would be great. The city cannot unreasonably withhold approval once the legislatively adopted legal requirements have been met, which they have been in this case. Property owners are entitled to the notice of the conditions. They are provided that notice through the code, and those conditions must be set out clearly in regulations. Yours are, in fact, in this case, set out in your regulations, and we are compliant with those regulations. Next slide, please, Mary. A local government may not deny a development order based on criteria that are not specifically enumerated in its land use regulations. And again, the burden shifts to the city to prove non-compliance once we have shown compliance. Next slide, please. This is the long and short of it. If a site plan meets the code, the city may not deny the application. The rulings of the board, as you are sitting today in your quasi-judicial capacity, can be upheld only if they are supported by substantial competent evidence. Statements of opposition are not considered substantial competent evidence. They are not to be given the same weight under Florida law, regardless of whether they come from an expert or from a layperson, unless they are supported by maps, documents, reports, other information that counts as data or something that is persuasive in the form of evidence to this council. So with that said, I am going to let Dawn walk you through the specifics of the applications before you, but that is the framework in which you are considering this. It is whether this application meets your code, and beyond that, it is treated largely in the case law as an administrative act. Thank you.
And again, for the record, Donaldson Hearing here tonight on behalf of the applicant. And the site is located on the screen. So we're basically parcel H, which is located south of Persimmon Boulevard. It's about a 50-acre site, 47 acres in size. You can go to the next slide. And this is that picture of the most recent aerial photography of what's out there on the site. You can see the infrastructure that we talked about before is put into place. And the buildings that are directly along Seminole Pratt Whitney have been constructed. And then this is the master plan, or an illustrative of the master plan that is before you this evening. We'll walk you through the minor modifications, but up to note here, there's no changes to any of the parcels that are existing and fronting along Seminole Pratt Whitney. They're remaining the same. There's just a minor change to parcel B, where we're changing the use from a bank drive-through to a fast casual restaurant with drive-through, and then an increase in parcel C for the Taco Bell of 238 square feet to address their latest building typology. Also, as Mr. Carter had mentioned earlier, parcel F, which was previously Adrenaline World, is being just reconfigured into 3 specific parcels. One of use, which is an application is pending before the city, which is on parcel F2, which you will be seeing probably at your May meeting. It is important to note that the master plan allocates uses and defines areas. So all the uses that are defined on the master plan are 100% consistent with your code, and all of the parcels that are proposed or configured, again, are completely consistent with your land development regulations. Next slide, please. You can skip over this. We'll just go a little bit quicker. So with this slide, we can just kind of go through the specifics of what we're doing. You have parcel F1, F2, and F3. It's the previous Adrenaline World, which has been abandoned. So we're assigning entitlement to each of those 3 pieces. Parcel F1 will be 10,400 square feet of mixed use. Parcel F2 is a little bit over 47,500 and change of a use that is referred to as tractor supply. That's the use under ITE. And parcel F3 is going to end up being light industrial. There's a minor modification in parcel B, which we referred to again, simply no change in building square footages, simply just the change in use from a bank with drive-through to a fast casual with drive-through on the south end of the building B1, which is the northernmost building. And in building C, the Taco Bell is increasing by 238 square feet. You can go to the next slide. This goes through the specifics of the square footages. Osnil went through these, so I won't repeat exactly what we went through previously. But the square footages of F1 on parcel F1, F2, and F3, and parcel B, the modification of use in parcel C, the 238 square feet. And you can go to the next slide. This is, again, the delineation of the uses that will occur on parcel F1 and F2. All these parcels will be interconnected the way that they are designed. So there will be interconnectivity between F1, F2, and F3. And then you can see the access points are clearly delineated. So we have a limited number of access point on the major arterial, which is Persimmon Boulevard to the north. And you can go to the next slide. And I'll stop there because the next slides get into the site plan unless you would like me to go through the site plan pieces now, if that's okay. Those are separate items. Stop right now. Okay.
I just had a quick question.
Yes, sir.
This is semi on, but off topic. There was originally two banks. There was one in this site. I believe there was one in the Publix.
There is, if you recall last month, you modified the location of the bank. And that is a bank, that is a Fifth Third Bank. Fifth Third Bank is on your agenda in April.
Next agenda. Okay, so there's a bank going there. I also happen to know, I don't know if I may be more informed than most because I keep my thumb on the pulse of the city, but I happen to know that a very, very large popular bank has executed a lease in Groves Marketplace across the street.
Good.
I don't know if I'm not, so I'm not going to. And I'm also not going to speculate as to why this bank pulled out, but there was going to be two banks. There's still going to be two banks. It's just what I want to say.
Is that on the Conover side or is that in a different?
No,
side?
that's in the Groves
No,
Plaza.
no, I understand the Grove, but you mentioned,
That I believe is in Publix's.
Yeah, no, the Fifth Third Bank is in the Publix master plan you approved with the last month, and it will be back before you for site plan at your meeting in April.
Excellent.
yes, go back to your application. In your application, page 2, under proposed uses, you are proposing a drive-through bank. It's on your application.
This is not a drive-through bank. I don't know which document you're looking at.
I'm looking at your application. We have it in our packet. This drive-through bank is one of the proposed uses. What is the meaning of an upcoming land use tractor supply? What does that mean, upcoming?
Well, there is in parcel F. In parcel F, there is a land use that is referred to as tractor supply, which is a part of this master plan request.
Is that,
And so that's,
is that like a generic name of the use or is the name of the business?
it is a generic name of a use defined by the Institute of Traffic Engineers. And so that's why we use that terminology.
Okay, that helps to clarify because it's capitalized in your
Well,
application.
yeah, the uses would be capital.
Because I think there's a tractor supply already on Southern by that name.
That could be the case.
Okay. Okay, well, then you also talk about proposed uses as a restaurant. In your project description, page 3, paragraph 1, the applicant is proposing restaurant. So if we were to approve restaurant for where you're asking drive-through, would that be acceptable?
No, sir. The only thing that would be acceptable is the request that's before you, which is for the restaurant with drive-through, as Mr. Osnil had pointed out previously, was a previously approved use, became a bank, and we're simply going back to the previously approved use.
Okay. And you also indicate in your application that Tractor Supply is one of the proposed uses listed as a permitted use in our table 320 of land development regulation.
Yes, it's a retail use, so it is a permitted use.
It's a retail use. It's not, Tractor Supply is not listed as a specific use.
It's a permitted use.
I hear you. But your application is suggesting it's specifically Tractor Supply is permitted. Those are the only questions I have.
Right, well, we would request your approval.
You have any more comments from the council?
I mean, I hear what Mr. Warner is saying and thinking, how many drive-throughs do we want in Westlake? We already have KFC, Taco Bell. Can't remember the last time I ate at either of them. I mean, obviously, this is an unknown. We're not here to debate who's coming in, just whether we want another drive-through business.
I don't know if that's up for us to debate at all.
No, it's really based on code and administrative action, based on what we have in our code today.
Can we ask the city attorney what our options are?
Excuse me, if you're going, before you debate, you could open up for public comments.
Sure. The comments from council came before that, but let's open up for public hearing. Do you have any comments from the public? Madam City Clerk, are there any public comments?
Mayor, received no public comment cards.
Anybody here to make a public comment? Recognize Alicia Torres first, and then I'll.
Hi, Alicia Torres, 5847 Whippoorwill Circle. I just want to say I appreciate all of your guys' work. I feel like Mr. Carter, with all due respect, Mr. Carter has a myopic, business-minded interpretation of how things are supposed to be moving forward here in Westlake. But you guys are here to represent us, and so I do appreciate and the second guessing is keep it up. I think that we can do, you guys, I trust you guys to do that fairly without, inhibiting the growth of Westlake. I did have a question if there's any news on the restaurant, the fast food restaurant that's taking over the bank.
I'm sorry, ma'am, you need to keep your comments to this subject, the application.
Wasn't this part of the application?
It should be more specific than what, were you referring to this application being converted from a bank to a
Fast food,
Okay.
yes. Do we have a name of the fast food restaurant yet? And also I had a little, I'm just curious about the F1 parcel. It just seems really, really hidden and tucked in the back. So I'm kind of just wondering, it doesn't look like it has any, one can see it from any of the streets. So I'm just wondering if there's already something in place to go there.
It's on the back part of Persimmon.
All right, thank you.
And instruct staff to get back to Ms. Torres if we know what's going on to F1. I don't off the top of my head.
I have no information on anything that might be going into F1 at this date and time.
Please, state your name and address for the record. You've got 3 minutes.
Won't take them all. Hi, I'm Mary Ellen Manning. I live at 15780 Crestwind Place. I'm an attorney in this state and in another state. I have also been an elected official, so I understand how difficult this can be in this kind of situation. And I've also dealt with some of these types of issues in the other state that I practice in, land use issues and planning board issues and things like that. I think what I'm hearing, I haven't studied this, but it sounds to me as though the category of retail includes both drive-throughs and other types of things. And so if I could respectfully suggest, you might want to take a look at that layout. I don't know if you're handcuffed or if you can change those categories to make them more specific, because from what I understand from listening, is that every single one of those parcels could be made into a drive-through fast food restaurant. And there's really nothing you can do about it except buy yourselves a lawsuit. As the other gentleman pointed out, kind of stymie future development and relationships with this particular developer. So you might be handcuffed on this particular application. But I do think you might want to go back respectfully, if you can go back to the drawing board on going in with a scalpel and making sure that, maybe each one of these pods has to have so many types of things to make it, so many categories, so many drive-throughs or not more than X number of certain types of things. And you might be in a better position going forward on the next round. And you might want to work with whatever they're doing at this future big development to make sure that they have the right mix over there. You may have lost the opportunity on this particular battle. But I do appreciate everything you're trying to get done. But that's just my 2 cents. I hope I didn't take up too much time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just want to follow up on what my wife said. Ted Sarandis, 15780 Cresswind Place. I really want to thank Councilman Werner for getting what all of us, I think, are feeling here. And I'm going to ask that the council delay a vote on all of these amendments. And I'm glad we've got the legal counsel and the senior leadership from the developer here. Councilman Werner hit on it. We need a sit-down restaurant and we need a bank. We don't need more and more drive-throughs. Councilman Martinez also hit on it. We can't be a place where you're just going to zip down Seminole Pratt Whitney and go to a drive-through and all these people passing through. How about serving the people who live in the city of Westlake? And I'm going to ask the legal counsel and the developers to please work with this council. Let's find a way to address what we need here in the city. We need a sit-down restaurant, maybe a Perkins, maybe a Waffle House, something like that, and we need a bank. We can't continue to have the developer say, we're just going to keep putting in drive-through restaurants one after the other. And I'm going to ask the council to respectfully delay a vote on all of these proposed modifications that the developer has asked so that the public can provide more input. I hope that you do not take this vote. Try to work with the developer to help the people here get a sit-down restaurant and a bank. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Question for legal. Sir, let's keep going with the public hearing.
Is there any more public comments?
We close the public hearing.
There being no further comments, the public hearing is closed. Some further discussion.
Council, question for the council. Being that this is administrative, is this something that we can delay or does it have to be voted on tonight?
No, sir, it would be subject, you can consider a motion to table.
Thinking whether or not. We have other comments from the council.
Well,
Sir, you haven't been recognized by the mayor.
I would support that concept on the basis that the application materials have many inconsistencies. I pointed out a few of them earlier. And I think it's incumbent upon this council and the city to expect when a development application comes in, it's thorough and complete and not inconsistent. But if you look on your application materials, you'll see they do indicate a proposed use is drive-through bank, and among other inconsistencies. So I would support tabling it, allowing the applicant to reconfigure that particular aspect. Maybe we can have some discussions of other options, if that's what the council's inclination is.
Mr. Mayor, if I might,
You may.
just for the record, a motion to table will not entertain any discussion. So if you want to address it before a motion's made, please do so. And if you are inclined to make a motion to table, I would ask that the item be tabled for a specific time so it comes back. It's not tabled indefinitely. You need a specific date if you're going to consider that.
So this is my fear and this is my concern. And what we have before us is that we've got an original use that was approved as a fast food restaurant. This body already unanimously said this can be a fast food restaurant. The applicant came in front of us and said, we have a bank that wants to go here. Let's not do a fast food restaurant. Let's do a bank. This body said, sure, applicant, let's give them a bank. Now the applicant is before us again asking, just kidding, let's go back to make it a fast food restaurant, which you had already approved unanimously previously. What I'm terrified to do right now is have Westlake painted as a place that is not developer friendly and is going to make life difficult for anybody who wants to come and make the investment here. Because I don't think we can afford to do that right now in this mass growth phase that we're in, because we are just getting off to the races right now. And if we stall that and pivot that now, word's going to get around quick. This is just me speaking out loud, and I think word's going to get out that Westlake government is not easy to work with. Maybe we should make our investment in gardens over by the Avenir Plaza instead of Westlake. We were originally going to have two banks. I shared today, I know for a fact that bank has been, a lease has been signed for one of the big ones directly across the street. There's still going to be two banks. We had originally approved it as a fast food restaurant. I also understand that the concept that maybe the code needs to be looked into further and amended. But right now we have a box and the applicant is not asking for anything outside that box. I don't know. I think we would look, I don't know. That's my opinion. I don't want to have Westlake painted as a place that makes development difficult.
Mayor, with all due respect, I appreciate your concern. I agree with that. On the same token, we're looking at an application that, as I pointed out, has several internal inconsistencies. And frankly, it's up to our staff to scrutinize those applications and clean them up before they come to us. But that didn't happen here. And I would
certainly agree with you.
I would afford the applicant the opportunity, at least, nothing else, to at least clean up those inconsistencies. And there are other aspects of this application that we haven't talked about, Taco Bell, that maybe could be accommodated, but I have questions on that as well. I don't think it's so straightforward on this application.
I understand. I'd like applications to be brought forward. I'd like them to be complete. I'd like not to have inconsistencies. I also want to correct, I know everybody was saying, we have 4 fast food restaurants. For the record, I want to say one of those is a Starbucks, which is a coffee shop that has a drive-through. It's not a fast food restaurant. So there's not 4 fast food restaurants in a row. One's a coffee shop that happens to have a drive-through.
Right.
The applicant also had called it a fast casual that's coming in with a drive-through. Again, I don't know, not all drive-throughs are created equal. So I just want to throw that out there. It's not, one is a coffee shop. That's not, I wouldn't call that fast food.
Question for the attorney is, if we were to table this, would we need to get the applicant's consent?
No, sir.
It's different than California.
Welcome to Florida.
You're not in California. And I'm certainly glad we're not.
Yeah.
We hear anymore, but there is the Taco Bell.
Respectfully, could I also make an important procedural comment for your
Please
consideration?
do so.
You have 4 council members. A 2-2 vote is a denial.
So a motion to table ending with a 2-2 is no table.
Correct.
A motion to approve with 2-2 is no approval.
Correct.
And the motion to deny 2-2 is no denial.
Correct.
And then what happens?
You keep going.
I have a question for council. Is there a way that this body could, is there something that could be done to address the inconsistencies in the application without tabling? What would that procedure
If
look?
you would. You could approve it subject to a revised application being submitted within a specific time frame. That's acceptable to the applicant.
And I recognize, Councilor Herring on this topic since he's representing the applicant.
Yes, for the record, Donaldson hearing, and of course, the application consists more than just one document. It consists of a whole series of plans and other documents that are very much so consistent. I think your staff report is consistent as well. Happy to make any change that would make anybody happy, but this is very important to move. You have multiple parties that are here watching this tonight that are relying on this to go forward tonight.
Understood. In terms of the consistencies, we're talking about some typos and where he said drive-through, that didn't get struck.
Contractors.
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, I know what they're proposing. I know they're not proposing a bank, but their application says it is a bank. If we were to approve it as is, and the files are on record, and someone comes and looks at it in the future and says, they approved drive-through restaurant, but it says drive-through bank.
So can we approve it specifically stating that it is going to be a fast casual with a drive-through?
Yes, sir. I mean, the application, I mean, the matter presented to you by
Can we
staff.
say or a bank? I don't know.
There's a lot of information we all are looking for right now.
I recognize. So, you know,
If I may, Snelly, I'm planning for the city. The staff report, we provide a staff report with all the details of the application that is consistent with the provided plans before you. There might have been some typos on the applicant submitted application, just, but the before you and the development order that's going to be issued, it's going to be consistent with the requests.
I'm going to go ahead and urge P and Z to please review this stuff more thoroughly, scrutinize it twice, because Mr. Werner is going to catch it, and it's going to be on display for the entire world to hear.
Understood.
So let's try and get these applications vetted properly before they reach this body for decision. That's my recommendation. So I guess if there's no further discussion, I need some kind of a motion.
Well, I'm afraid to make a motion for fear of a 2-2 tie.
I'll say this. I appreciate your knowledge because it's something that I don't have as far as, the background with planning and zoning and plots. But for me, just looking tonight, we are set at looking at our current code, what it is, what it's set for. So I'm in the inclination to approve it. And I do like your comment of that's something we need to look at to change in the future for any other future development. However, before it's set in our code today, it's to be approved in this project. That's set forth. Change that later. As of today, now we can change it next meeting. We can bring it up for next meeting for future development. But for tonight, based on this application, it's what our code is.
I'll also say if someone was so inclined to make a motion, I would like it to be specific in the sense of, make sure that it's obvious that we're approving a fast casual restaurant drive-through, not bank, regardless of what the application, this page of the application stating.
Is there any difference between fast casual and fast food? Or is that just lingo?
I heard fast casual and I like the sound of it.
It sounded very political.
The Institute of Traffic Engineers, if it has a drive-through, they classify it as fast food. That's per the traffic we have to classify it at. But in reality, the type of uses that go in the end caps of buildings like this are fast casual is the type of user that we're having as compared to your, your typical Taco Bell, Wendy's of uses that you consider fast food.
Fast casual is synonymous with fast food. Final.
They're similar. They're similar. They're similar. I mean, from a retailer's perspective, from a marketing perspective, we look at it as differently, but from a zoning code perspective, it's looked at as being the same.
Okay, understood. So would it matter if we said fast casual?
Yeah, I guess it wouldn't matter, but I
Right.
guess the point that I'm trying to make, or he's trying to make, is that fast casual, fast food is not actually what's up for debate. It's that there's a specific use that it's approved for, and there's no reason for this body to deny that because it falls within the boundary of what's being applied.
If you can approve a development order in this case for fast casual drive-through, because you're changing the name, why would it not be appropriate to change it to restaurant? If you got one change, why not look at another change?
They specifically are asking for a drive-through.
No, I understand that, but if you had restaurant.
Already previously approved a
Let
drive-through.
me ask you this, if it was labeled as restaurant in the master site plan approval, and you came back with a site plan approval for a business with a name and we know what it is, and it has a drive-through, that's permitted in the development code.
The request, because you're dealing with the traffic and traffic intensity, is for a restaurant with drive-through. That's what's before you today.
And
That's
that
what
much
that,
higher demand, a much higher traffic.
right,
analysis.
and that is the applicant's request.
So you're not budging.
Well, it's consistent with the code. I can't. We have leases and letters of intent that require that. So.
Well, but the council is talking about fast casual drive-through.
I'm talking to you about what the use is from a zoning code perspective. Your traffic engineers are going to classify that as basically fast food with drive-through. I'm using a term of art, but it is a restaurant with drive-through. All restaurants with drive-throughs are considered fast food, no matter what it is, whether it's a pizza shop or something else. I'm telling you that there is a different, term of art that we're using for this type because it's in line on the end cap of a building.
Right, and the traffic analysis that would accompany the drive-through that you're referring to would be excessive to a restaurant as a sit-down, would it not?
There is a different trip generation. Yes, a sit-down restaurant generates less traffic, but in this particular case, we meet all the requirements of your code relative to traffic, and so it's really not a debatable item
No, I
that's
understand
under
that, but
discussion.
What I'm thinking is, if it were to be designated in the site plan tonight, of the master plan approval tonight as restaurant, and you came back later with a specific business that had a drive.
There's a site plan request that's on the agenda that's a companion to this tonight for that very thing. But the master plan would have to include a restaurant with drive-through because that is the entitlement and the intensity and density that is required pursuant to your code. So I can't ask you to do a restaurant and 5 minutes later tell you I want it to be a restaurant with drive-through because it would be inconsistent with the master plan you just approved.
I hear you. The city attorney expound on that, is that a correct statement?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Keep in mind, what you have also, you do have a companion application with the application you're considering. So given your consideration, should you approve the application before you now, you'll have a companion case relative to the site plan.
Mhm.
Kindly ask for a motion of some kind. Throw something at the wall and see what sticks, guys.
Based on our discussion tonight and what's on the current code, I mean, I'm all happy, having this brought up to council next month. As far as looking at our code, maybe the city manager, the city staff gets together with our P and Z and engineering firms to relook at that code. But based on tonight, current code, I am making a motion to approve MPA 2023-04 as a fast casual, not as a bank, for motion for approval. With the drive-through. And if you can still clear up the application.
So the motion is to approve the application subject to a revised application.
Yes, sir.
Respectfully, Vice Mayor, staff will not be able to bring the changes before you next month.
No.
Not for this property, for future code.
That's that's a major
It'll-
undertaking. We can't do it in 30 days and it's not in the city's best interest.
Okay.
Work on it and bring it back as soon as possible.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor. I don't know, procedurally, can the mayor second or no?
Yes, sir, you can you have to hand
Would I have to
the,
pass the gavel?
pass the gavel.
I'm going to second motion.
Yes.
I'm going to wait a few seconds. See if there's an organic second, because I am going to force this body to take a vote, one way or another. So I will wait. Patient. See if there's a second. Okay. Who do I pass it to? Mr. Vice Mayor?
Yes.
This will be a first in Westlake Hill. Never pass the gavel. Didn't pass it.
Okay, so we have a motion.
Based on the fact that we should be operating under the confines of our existing code. And I think it would be an injustice to the future development of Westlake and certainly an injustice to the applicant before us. I will second the motion to approve.
We have a motion by Vice Mayor Langowski, seconded by Mayor O'Connor. Roll call. Vice Mayor Langowski.
Yes.
Mayor O'Connor.
Yes.
Councilman Martinez.
No.
Councilman Werner.
No.
Motion fails.
So now what?
I'll make a motion.
Okay.
I'll move that we table this to a date certain, and I'm okay doing it to the next council meeting, regular council meeting, along with a special study session with the applicant in Minto present to discuss other development-related issues that are, I believe, in the background or maybe the foreground, so that we all have better knowledge of what's possibly coming. Not, you have, as you say, your thumb is on the pulse. I don't have that opportunity unless I learn it from you, how to do that. But I would like to hear from Minto and its developer prior to our coming back first Tuesday in April.
Excuse me, Mr. Sir. You need to simplify the motion
Okay.
for a motion to table, time certain. If you wish to call a workshop or that's a separate item.
Okay,
Would be like an agenda request there.
all right. I'll move that we table this to our first meeting in April.
It'll be April 2nd. I will second it.
There's no discussion.
Understood.
We have a motion by Councilman Werner, seconded by Vice Mayor Langowski. Roll call. Mayor O'Connor.
Yes.
Councilman Martinez.
Yes.
Councilman Werner.
Yes,
Vice Mayor Langowski.
Yes.
Motion carries.
I hope we have a body of five. Let that next meeting, hope everybody's present, because not having is a detriment. to it.
agreed.
Yeah.
I mean, we run into this issue.
Right.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, council, could you step forward? Given the action of the city council, are you willing to agree to a tabling or continuation of the next two items?
May I have a moment to confer on
Yes,
that
please.
point?
Yes, and the reason I asked, they're companion cases. I'm not trying to prejudice your client's position. But I'm going to advise as counsel that they're, given the fact that they haven't approved the master plan amendment, that they can't approve the site plan.
Understood. So to be clear, this procedurally, this was not approved and now it is being moved to table. So this council, I would like clarification, is not treating this as a denial of this application. Is that correct?
Correct, it's just being tabled.
Okay.
It's not a denial. It's for the record, for you and members of the public, this is not a denial, it's tabled.
Okay.
To the
May
next.
I request that may I respectfully request a 3-minute recess for conference purposes? I
Sure.
realize that's out of order, but appreciate it.
Recess?
Thank you.
Absolutely. Can I
Use the
Do this
restroom.
do this for the first time ever at Westlake history too. 3-minute recess. Everybody take a break.
No, I understand.
Oh,
Something wrong with that it was set up in the door. Yeah.
No, I have to.
We like to say. I can say we don't. They can sound. This is, they get, so they get the, we don't find out until they tell us. And then it's like, oh, it's a surprise. So, I can mismatch.
You call the meeting back to order after the recess. I'll call it back to order at 7:44 PM. I would- To the podium.
I've lost charge.
Here, Catherine, just a minute.
There you go.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Catherine Rossmell again for the record. I will stand out of the way of it here. After consulting with the clients, I respectfully request that you reconsider the table and reconsider the motion as the application before you is completely within the requirements of the code. It is completely within every staff approval. You have the ability to waive the minor typo on one page of the application to the extent that that is presenting any unclarity. And frankly, we would prefer a denial to a table because that at least gives us an avenue forward with a lawsuit. So with that, we respectfully request that you remove this from the table and can reconsider the application.
Sir?
Asked to be recognized by Mr. Mayor, by the council.
Absolutely. State your name and address for the record.
Thank you. Jacob Gerb on behalf of DKC Westlake. We are the applicant, 431 Fairway Drive, Deerfield Beach, Florida. We are the applicant. I'm here, I'm general counsel for Conover South. We are the landowners that do own land like the rest of the citizens in Westlake. We are just like all of you, except our land doesn't have homes on it. It has buildings that are already built that we would like very much to occupy with businesses that very much want to serve this community. We don't want to have empty buildings. That is actually probably the absolute worst thing you can have, because then other businesses start wondering what's going on here. Why doesn't anyone else want to fill these buildings? Why would we come here? So that's never a good look, as we say, as retail owners. That's why we're working so hard now to make sure that our buildings are full at the time that they're completed. And as you've probably seen, they are indeed nearing completion. As you've heard, market forces have changed. We would very much like to have TD. What a great tenant. I can definitely count on the rent coming in every month, right? Not my choice, not our choice. This was not our doing. We didn't want this. But because we're a nimble developer, because we're local, because we have our finger on the pulse, because we love Westlake and want to spend our dollars here and grow here, we did pivot quickly. We made compromises. We recognized, we reached out to all of the banks that we do business with. We have a portfolio of millions of square feet. We do business with all the banks. We're developing for all of them. They don't see this as a home for them right now. So yes, we are prepared to make the necessary changes to the application. We are prepared to correct human error. I'll make it, and it would be our absolute pleasure to go through it with a fine-tooth comb. I'll do the peer review personally. But we would like to ask for you, and I would just like to second council's comment and motion for a reconsideration. If we could ask this council, we don't want to waste anyone's time. Everyone spent a lot of time coming here this evening to hear this meeting. Honestly, coming back in a month, we don't think we're going to be able to present anything different. We're going to have the same tenants. We're going to have the same layout. We're going to have the exact same requests. There's not much we can change. We can call it a restaurant with drive-through all day long. Fast food, fast casual, those are all just types of restaurants and types of categories of uses. So I want to thank you all very much. You do play an extremely difficult role. I don't envy it. We would like to respectfully ask you to reconsider. We would respectfully ask for your vote. We do respectfully apologize for wasting P&Z's time and staff time not having proofread our application, having copied and pasted. We acknowledge those errors. And we would very much like to have a beautiful operating center with, I would say, elevated drive-through user on that beautiful end cap. And so I'm available to answer any other questions on behalf of the applicant. I thank you for your time and do ask you to kindly reconsider. Thank you very much.
Please.
Yeah, so the property owner, you mentioned you don't want to have any vacant buildings. I understand that you only have two buildings there right now that we're dealing with, the Starbucks and the Kentucky Fried Chicken. Is that what you're referring to?
No.
No, the entire art development, so there are 5 buildings in our development. There are 2 starting from the north, coming south from the 7-Eleven. There are 2 what we call multi-tenant retail buildings. And then further than that, those are on what was shown earlier on as parcel B. And the new consolidated parcel C has 3 separate buildings on it. One is a national coffee user. Another, it might have been mentioned earlier who it was. It's not a big secret anymore. As well as KFC and the Taco Bell that you're aware of. So all of our spaces are accounted for and occupied.
Okay, I thought you were referring to Kentucky Fried in particular.
No, I was not.
Because Taco Bell isn't up yet. There's no building.
No, it's not up yet.
And you did say you don't want to have empty buildings.
Yeah, no, it is. They are under construction.
Is there, and that's an empty building as far as I know, until it gets final approval, final occupancy. I thought you were suggesting that you would be willing to parse the application for us to deal with Kentucky Fried Chicken, as long as the rest of it could continue on as tabled.
No, I don't even think that was the subject matter of the
No.
application. No.
KFC is not what we're
I
discussing.
understood was if we don't approve, we might spook the tenants and it's going to remain empty because no one's going to lease from us.
It's just not a good look. Like our building's going to be done soon. I'm going to have a vacancy there on an end cap drive-through. And that's what I mean by empty. Like the unit, the space is not going to be built. It's going to be dirt floors until it's built out by a tenant. So we would like to, we find lots of synergies when tenants open together, when businesses have grand openings at once. It draws a lot of interest to the site. So you're coming to your coffee shop, you're going to grab something to eat, you might go by the hospital, you might get some gas. This is kind of the commercial corridor that we are trying to leverage the momentum and bring it all together at once. That's always our goal, is to deliver that silver platter.
And I'm not familiar with the handicap space that you're talking about.
I'd be happy to point it out on the screen if you want to.
Excuse me, no, excuse me, no, the hearing's been closed. It's a
Okay, I'm just offering
quasi-judicial.
what to.
It's only a motion for reconsideration.
Sure.
I'm sorry, you can't, the matter is
I'm
table.
simply offering a.
I
great
understand
summary
that.
to walk
Again-
through.
Again, I've given everybody great latitude, but for the record, you have an action taken, the item's been tabled, council's requested consideration for motion for reconsideration.
Okay.
That's all you've got.
Thank you, sir.
I mean, I will echo and say that I would like this body to reconsider. I think we're being short-sighted and I think we're doing the city a disservice by stopping progress. That's certainly my opinion.
The mayor would indulge a final comment from me.
You certainly will.
I would just like to recap. We are consistent with code. We have no intention of changing the application between this month and next month. There is nothing that will change. There is no purpose in the tabling. So with that, we really would ask for your reconsideration and approval of the entirely consistent application. Thank you.
Is the typo really on one page?
Yes, and everywhere else in the application is very clear. And importantly, on the record, you all have stated that you understand that the application is for a restaurant with a drive-through. There is no mystery there in the application at this point.
And just per the earlier requirement, I don't think this was driven home, but with the requirement to resubmit a correct application, there was supposed to be a time frame associated with that. So I believe we can make these corrections within a few days, weeks time, tops, 24 hours. So that that'll hold our feet to the fire. And I was only suggesting to show the site plan again.
No, sir.
So that we
No,
could,
sir.
be efficient with
No,
this
sir.
time.
We're done. No, sir.
Oh, great. Thank you.
This council already approved it. Fast food restaurant in that space. I think we're being silly at this point. With the drive.
I'm going to make a motion to reconsider MPA 2023-04.
Twice. I'm going to pass the gavel in a second.
We have a motion by Vice Mayor Langowski, seconded by Mayor O'Connor. Roll call. Councilman Martinez.
No.
Councilman Werner. Vice Mayor Langowski.
Yes.
Mayor O'Connor.
Yes.
Motion fails.
With respect to your earlier question, then we would withdraw the future
I'm
application.
sorry.
With respect to your earlier question then that we left before on the recess, the other applications we would request that they be tabled to travel at the same time as the next master plan consideration.
Thank you.
Do I need to make a motion for that? Council?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion to table to the April 2nd meeting, MPA 2023-04, SPM 2023-14, and SPM 2023-15.
Second.
We have a motion by Vice Mayor Langowski, seconded by Councilman Martinez. Roll call. Councilman Martinez.
Yes.
Councilman Werner.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Langowski.
Yes.
Mayor O'Connor.
Yes.
Motion carries.
So we just tabled B,
We're on public hearing A.
Here.
tabled C.
You're on D.
There's no D.
Yes, there is.
Public hearing A,
Quasi judicial,
It's flat.
quasi judicial.
PC3.
Resolution 2024-04, replat portion of open space.
No, you missed the resolution for PC3.
I have.
Item D.
D?
D is in David.
We don't have,
Says A.
it's A.
I don't have D either on
I don't
our
have D on mine.
consent.
Yours says A also.
Yeah, I go CA.
Mr. Kelly.
Your D is our A. Yep, that's our A.
This is,
It's another, hey, we've got tons of typos here. Hey. Okay, so is it D?
I'll go by the pod PC3. That's the issue.
yes.
Okay.
It's flat, it's PC3.
Whatever item number it may be,
It's resolution
this
20.
is a resolution for the plat of pod PC3 submitted by engineering. It's resolution 2024-04. We read by title. What-
Yes, sir. I'll read by title. Resolution by title only, resolution City Council, City of Westlake, Florida, a replat of portion of open space tract number 2, Persimmons Boulevard East, plat 2, plat book 128, page 16 through 19, inclusive public records, Palm Beach County, Florida, in line and portions sections 1 and 2 and 1 and 12, Township 43 South Range 40 East, sections 6 and 7, Township 43 South Range 41 East, City of Westlake, Palm Beach County, Florida, providing for recordation, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, providing for effective date. All those individuals going to testify for this matter, please be sworn and raise your right hand. You solemnly swear to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth. Please proceed.
Any presentations from anyone?
Good afternoon or good evening. For the record, Donaldson Hearing here tonight on behalf of Minto PBLH LLC. This request that is before you is for a plat of a 11.5 acre civic site that's located right in the southwest corner of the Crestwinds community along Persimmon Boulevard. All of the properties surrounding this site have been platted, so this is the only unplatted parcel. This completes that plat. The plat has been reviewed in accordance with the requirements of your code and of course in accordance with the requirements of the Florida statutes. It has been determined to be technically compliant by your staff and fully in compliance with all requirements of the Florida statute. And so it's a simple boundary plat, shows some easements and has some dedications to the various entities. As you see on the cover sheet, I won't go through those details. But simply would, in the interest of time, as you can see here, there's the boundary plot that's on the screen. You can see the rural parkway that's in the front along Persimmon Boulevard. Real simple there to the north and to the east is the Crestwinds community. So this is, again, there's no uses proposed. This is just an unplatted parcel with everything else surrounding it being platted. So what we typically try to do is to clean up the public record book so that it's accurate. So with that, I would request that you approve this request.
Public hearing?
We need to hear from staff.
Staff reports next.
Hi, Suzanne Dombrowski, city engineer. So typically we have not provided any presentations for plat applications unless there is like a unique circumstance that warrants that. I think Mr. Hearing's presentation pretty much covered it, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
What is the use of that property? I know it's open space. There's a school site across the street?
There's a school site across the street, so that use.
Yeah, this is one of the, one of the civic sites that's located on the site. It's a private civic site. It could be used for any of the provisions that are outlined in the comprehensive plan and the zoning code. Across the street, adjacent to the other residential parcel R2, I call it, Sky Cove South, that is actually a school site that's already been dedicated to Palm Beach County School Board.
Any comments or questions from council?
No questions.
Comments from public?
Yes.
Open hearing?
Yes.
Open public hearing? Comments from the public? Any questions or comments from the public?
I received no comment cards, Mayor.
No further discussion. Let's close the public hearing, and I'd like to ask for a motion.
Mr. Mayor, as a follow-up and consistent with past practices, this plat has already been approved by Seminole Improvement District to meet all its criteria as a plat as well, and was approved yesterday at their meeting.
I'll move approval of this plat number 2 of plat book 128, pages 16 through 19, inclusive of public records of Palm Beach County, Florida, as recommended by staff.
One second.
We have a motion by Councilman Werner, seconded by Vice Mayor Langowski. Roll call. Councilman Werner.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Langowski.
Yes.
Mayor O'Connor.
Yes.
Councilman Martinez.
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0. Thank you.
New business? We have before us Resolution 2024-05, appointing 2 members and 1 alternate member to serve on the Education Advisory Board. There are 3 applications to review. Council discussion.
Mr. Mayor, I'll just make a comment that we have 3 openings, 2 that will be permanent seats and 1 as an alternate. We have 3 applicants. This will complete the board with our first meeting starting in April. I'm not sure if anybody else had comments.
I was just curious if any of the applicants are present tonight.
What's your name? Okay.
Thank you.
Yes.
Please.
James Kelly, once again, 5551 Starfish Road. Are you still accepting applications for the advisory board? Or have
At this
they been
time,
closed?
this would be closed and all the seats would be filled.
Okay, thank you.
That's if the council approves them.
How do we distinguish between the alternate and the 2 permanent members?
By motion.
Thanks. That helps.
I would,
How do we determine which one's which?
It's up to you.
I'm going to make a motion to approve Colleen Berlizzi. Is that right? Okay. Keith Miller as the permanent members and Harris Gripper as the alternate. But I would encourage the alternate to attend the meetings. You won't have a vote at that time unless somebody is vacant during that meeting. But I'd like to encourage, even on both, whatever committees we have, that alternates always just show up just to be well versed in what's happening.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion by Vice Mayor Langowski, seconded by Councilman Werner. Roll call, Vice Mayor Langowski.
Yes.
Mayor O'Connor.
Yes.
Councilman Martinez.
Yes.
Councilman Werner.
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0. Thank you.
Resolution 2024-05, resolution of City Council, City of Westlake, Florida, appointing 2 members and 1 alternate member to serve on the Education and Youth Advisory Board, provide for conflict, severability, and an effective date. You'd entertain a motion to approve the resolution, please.
Certainly would.
Make a motion to approve the resolution.
Second.
Motion by Vice Mayor Langowski, seconded by Councilman Werner. Roll call, Mayor O'Connor.
Yes.
Councilman Martinez.
Yes.
Councilman Werner.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Langowski.
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0.
Look forward to seeing you in April.
Amending ordinance 2023-09, reconstituting the Education Advisory Board.
Ordinance by title only, an ordinance of City Council, City of Westlake, Florida, amending ordinance 2023-09 regarding the city's Education Youth Advisory Board by specifically amending section 3, subparagraph 2 entitled Composition, Appointments, Term, and Vacancy for the purposes of clarifying the role of the city council members serving as liaison to the Education and Youth Advisory Board, providing for severability, providing for codification, and providing for an effective date. And Mr. Mayor, I bring to your attention, section 3 of the ordinance simply deletes the language that the liaison to the board can be counted on for quorum purposes. So we're deleting that language
Okay,
for clarification.
thank you. City Manager, did you want to expand on this?
No, I have nothing to add.
Okay, do we have any comments from the council?
I'm ready to make a motion in public.
I'd love to hear about it.
I'll move approval of ordinance 2024-01 as recommended by staff.
Second.
I'm sorry, who made the motion?
That's what I want.
And second? Thank you. Motion by Councilman Werner, seconded by Vice Mayor Langowski. Roll call, Councilman Martinez.
Yes.
Councilman Werner.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Langowski.
Yes.
Mayor O'Connor.
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0. Thank you.
City Council comments. Councilman Martinez.
I think this is the first time we've had any disagreement on Westlake's council, but I think it goes to show that we're here to stand up for what we want. We all have our own views and we stand up for it, and that's why we're here. I also have Westlake's 5K coming up March 16th. If anyone isn't signed up, you sign up on Westlake's website. Looking forward to it, and that's all I have.
Thank you, Mayor. Couple items. I wanted to suggest that the council conduct a special meeting and any other development to learn of development updates, current traffic issues, and other current topics and issues relative to Westlake's future.
Could I suggest you instead of a special meeting, you're referring to maybe a workshop,
A workshop.
which
Okay.
would, no action, just discussion.
I'll call it a workshop.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
I have no qualms with
I have no
any
problem.
extra workshops.
Doesn't matter.
That's on
Date.
And also, we need participation from the other parties.
Right. Can the city manager coordinate that?
The clerk can reach out.
City manager and clerk will coordinate between the individuals and entities and see when we can set a date.
There's a Coulter billboard sign located along Town Center Parkway that I've heard several comments about, not the content, but the placement of the sign. And I looked at it, it's outside of the visual triangle, which is at a corner. It meets that requirement, but it does appear to be in the public right of way. I'd like to ask the city manager to have the building department to check that out.
We'll check and make sure whether it's in the right of way or if it's on Coulter's property.
Right, and the reason that's even coming up is because I'm hearing there's a visibility issue. Like I say, it's outside of the visibility triangle, that's not a problem, but it might hinder some visibility because it's encroaching into the public way. Final item I'd like to bring to the council's attention, which I think you all know already, but also to the public, the Palm Beach County Planning Commission will be conducting a public hearing regarding the Persimmon public right-of-way. And that meeting is going to be this Friday morning. And there will be a follow-up meeting by the County Board of Commissioners to amend the county's comprehensive plan, transportation plan. And I think it has direct Westlake. And I wanted to see if the council has any thoughts, or the city manager has any thoughts about how we might attend that meeting and what we might want to present.
This is a county instituted changes of their thoroughfare plan. I think from the city's position would be that if the county goes for that, we would be encouraged for interconnectivity for the city with the rest of the area. Other than that, I don't believe we have any dog in the hunt for that process. It is really a county function of what they believe is the correct interconnectivity within the county. But if people are interested in voicing their opinion about interconnectivity, I would say go to the meeting.
Yes. You want, yes, what?
No, I mean, I'll certainly state on the record, I think that some connectivity is better than no connectivity, although it's not my premier desired plan. It certainly allows for more connectivity than we currently have. A great plan shouldn't be the enemy of a perfect plan. I mean, it would certainly provide more connectivity for the residents of Westlake. That being said, I would also encourage any and all citizens who may be affected by a plan like that not going forward to, or be affected by it going forward, to please attend the meeting and speak either for or against that plan.
Are you then saying that the plan that's going forward is to the benefit of Westlake?
Personally, I believe that it would increase connectivity throughout our city. It would give us another east-west connection, which we currently have none. There's residents here, and I hear it constantly, that want to take their kids to schools located within Westlake. It takes them 20 minutes to get their kid to a school from Westlake to Westlake.
Right.
And that's 20 minutes each way. It's a 40-minute trip. This would certainly reduce that and alleviate a lot of connectivity issues that we currently have within our city. Again, it's not best plan, it's not the greatest plan, but it's a plan. And I think some connectivity is better than no connectivity.
And are you referring to the 60th Avenue?
60th is a different issue.
So this is Persimmon.
This would give us a second connection east to west. This would get us to our school.
Along which route?
Along, I believe the proposed plan is 40th to 140th. Right now, we've got parents who, it takes them an hour to get their kid to a school in Westlake.
Yes.
Westlake's only 6.5 square miles. Some connection. That's my opinion. Again, I encourage the public, if you're for the connection or against it in either direction, I would Again, it's a county issue, county road. It's not a Westlake road. Westlake doesn't have oversight of the road at all. Let me say that for the record also. But speak your mind, go to the county, tell them yes or no, and whatever opinions you may have.
I just got a copy of the public notice today, but it sounds to me like you have more background information on this. Is that correct?
No, it was, I certainly saw it before public notice, but I think I saw it online. I didn't know, I didn't get it in any official capacity. I saw it on like one of the Facebook pages.
Can we ask the city manager to explain?
Actually, I believe Commissioner Baxter had put forth this plan at a meeting that was in Indian Trails about a month and a half ago in one of the public meetings, talking about having 40th as a connection point to State Road 7, as well as taking Persimmon off of the thoroughfare plan, adding 40th to the thoroughfare plan, and also having 60th as a through street for access for connectivity east and west through the entire area out here. But it was originally public noticed, shall we say, by Commissioner Baxter at an Indian Trails meeting.
Some connection is better than no connection.
I would recommend anybody that's interested is to get a hold of that meeting information from the county, read the documents, look at it, and make up your own mind and go voice your opinion.
And it's a county road outside of the jurisdiction of the city of Westlake.
How does that relate to the lawsuit between Minto, SID, and ITID? Well, the lawsuit has to do with opening up Persimmon all the way through ITID.
Correct, but I think it's just like 60th is a separate issue.
Right.
This is something that would give more connectivity outside of the lawsuit. The lawsuit could, which again, the city's not a part of the lawsuit, let me be clear on that, but the lawsuit could still go forward, eventually get appealed, who knows? Maybe that connection might exist or maybe it won't. But I'm talking about right now in the here and now, the city has no east-west, very little east-west connection. We need some arterial roads to get some connectivity to get east to west.
Understood. But the public notice that I saw indicates that the county would abandon the Persimmon Road segment between 140th and SR7. That's an existing public right-of-way, unapproved, but they would abandon that right-of-way, which I believe would mean it would revert back.
Councilman Werner, it's not abandoning the right of way. Currently, Persimmon has been on the county's quote thoroughfare program and plan for years as a major east-west access for the county transportation network. What they're offering to do is to remove that from their transportation plan as a major county thoroughfare, changing it to 40th and also with 60th. So they were just taking that off of their thoroughfare plan, changing the thoroughfare plan to all the other roadways or interconnectivity east and west. They're not abandoning the road per se.
I don't think it's actually.
Whatever it is, that's what they're saying it is.
Yeah, again, this is a reason to attend the meeting. Ask all your questions to the body that actually governs those roads. We certainly do not. But if you want my personal opinion, we need some kind of connectivity here in the city of Westlake. That's my opinion.
Okay, that concludes my comments.
Great questions for the county commission. Vice Mayor.
Being that Minto, our master developer, has sent out survey to the Minto homeowners and asking for ideas, I would like for the CID and City of Council to have another workshop. Our last one was September 12th. Just to talk about our park and what we're still looking at. Because maybe some residents can, it doesn't have to be next month, maybe the next month or two, that we can sit down and just talk a little bit more about our park and let the residents come and hear about it.
Okay, I'll work on scheduling it with Cinema Improvement District, probably in May.
Can I ask about that? So you want to have a workshop on it, and we're also potentially looking at not voting for items that we would have in our park? Is that something we're looking at?
Ideas, what we want, what's beneficial for the city itself and for the, because it's going to be, it's also open to acreage lots, actually be sunset.
The park are, yes, correct.
Yeah, it's open to anybody
Yes.
in their neighboring area. So I want to hone our ideas in
Mhm.
and really try to help finalize that. So we can get appropriations, money, we know how much things are going to cost. And then it might help Minto say, okay, that's a good idea. We might use that here if they're not going to do that. I don't know, just an idea.
Oh, no, yeah, I agree. The residents should know what we're proposing for our park, and hopefully they don't have to add it to their park or vice versa. So I agree with you on that.
Pickleball and the-
Correct, yes. Tennis, yep.
That's like to just fix that and try to get that going. That's man. Last week I attended the Village of Royal Palm Beach dedication of the new city hall and commission chambers. Don Herring was there because he did the layouts and stuff outside, and that was a beautiful facility. And then I'll come back next month on the Florida League of Cities. I sit on land use and economic development, and we have 2 bills that are coming forward the legislature this week, and that is mobility fees, which greatly affect Palm Beach County, and also sovereign immunity, which looks like it's actually heading in a municipal good way rather than jumping, because it's potential lawsuits in the future if somebody ever got hurt. So looks like it's heading for a little bit better than we thought, but I'll bring that once it gets voted on.
Great. I'll use my council comments to thank the public really for attending this meeting. At one point, every seat was taken. There was a couple people standing in the corner, and that's the first I've ever seen, ever. So I really just want to thank the public. Public participation is a benchmark of our I didn't throw that at the public, I promise. It's really a benchmark of our democracy. And again, I just want to thank you guys for attending. And I hope at some point we have to open this wall and have even more public participation, because that's truly what we need here. And I also want to thank my colleagues on the council for a very spirited debate tonight. Thank you, colleagues. And with that, I will adjourn this meeting at 8:20 p.m. Start using this. Staff reports.
They were here all night.
They were guys. I already adjourned. I adjourned. I don't think I can unadjourn. That's it, right? I already adjourned the meeting. Sorry. I would love for staff to give their reports, even though I adjourned the meeting. Can
I motion to approve to reopen the meeting? Okay, I motion to make approval to.
Motion to unadjourn the meeting. Do we have a second?
Second.
Roll call. Sorry, guys.
Motion by Vice
It's on
Mayor
the next
Langowski.
page.
Motion by Vice Mayor Langowski, seconded by Councilman Werner. Roll call, Councilman Martinez.
Yes.
Councilman Werner,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Langowski.
Yes.
Mayor O'Connor.
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0.
So meeting, meeting reinstated at 8:21 p.m. Let's hear a city attorney report,
No, sir.
a city manager report.
I have one item. Solid Waste Authority is doing some maintenance on their facilities, which is backing up the delivery of solid waste to the facilities for treatment. So therefore, the ripple effect is solid waste may not be picked up as early as it normally has been, and there may be not picked up at all that day. They may roll into the next day because they cannot get rid of it out of their trucks. So that's just as an update in case you notice that
Didn't know that.
all of a sudden there's a mess out there. It's Solid Waste Authority doing maintenance on their facility, which is causing the issue.
Will they let us know? That day, like we could send out an advisory?
We just found out about it 4:30 this afternoon that they're having maintenance on it, and because Solid Waste contacted
So we'll see if they pick
us in the
time on
holler
Friday.
and
If they
see
don't,
what
nobody
happens.
gets-
But there will be some delays, and it is making it more difficult for the hauler to get it out of
They
here.
were there early this morning, so. All right,
That's all I have.
no, let's continue with staff reports, and then I'll have public comments at the end. Fire, police, who wants to go first? Okay.
Truly would not have been offended if I didn't have to. And I second what the mayor said. The attendance tonight is awesome.
I love it.
And the grit on the board and, you know, it's exciting. It's nice. It's new, it's fresh, and you guys are growing and building and molding, and it's really cool to see. So thank you for having me, and I will give the response time report for February. You had a total of only 46 responses to the city of Westlake. Just about 61% of those were medical calls. 26% were alarms, which would be either fire alarm or a CO alarm or something like that. Only 3 vehicle accidents, 6.5%, and 2 interfacility transports from the Westlake freestanding to a admitting hospital, and only 1 investigation or assist. The dispatch handling time was 44 seconds. The average turnout time from when the tones went off to the units going en route was 41 seconds. Travel time is 5 minutes an average of 5 minutes and 5 seconds, and a total overall response time of 6 minutes and 30 seconds. So pretty good. Also, I wanted to let you know with other municipalities, and some of them have public safety committees, but we present and bring a different topic to those quarterly meetings. We have presented on electric vehicle fires and the uniqueness of those fires. Also, we have presented in partnership with Solid Waste Authority on the proper disposal of lithium batteries. So if you are interested in anything like that and you'd like us to get on the agenda to be able to present at any of the council meetings, just let me know. The city manager and the clerk's office, they certainly know how to get a hold of me, and let them know what topics you want, and we'll do that. Okay, any questions? No? Thank
No,
you.
thank you. Ms. Campbell behind you has a question.
In the audience.
I'm going to need you to state your name and address for the record. Sorry.
Jackie Campbell, 15938 Key Biscayne Lane, Westlake, Crestwood. The question I have is, could you possibly get a shredding event for all those, for the city of Westlake? Like a shredding event for us?
It's shredding.
Like a truck?
Documents. That would be.
Document shredding.
That would be out of our.
So who would do that? It's true.
Can you burn them?
Honestly don't know. Yeah. Or just put them in a pit and make sure it's 36 pounds. You want to have a bonfire? No.
I've seen those events before, but I'm not sure who puts them on.
It's,
Maybe Solid Waste Authority?
it would probably be, it would be connected.
Of the paper shredding as well as the battery shred. You collect batteries and pills or, you know, those things.
That-
It can be done by city or
That would be a function of Solid Waste Authority. I'll reach out to them and see if they have a program that they can set up a date and time within the city limits.
Thank you.
Excellent, thank you.
Also, I'm sorry. We partner with PBSO, and we can do with the city an Operation Pill Drop, where you have a day, several hours throughout the day, and different entities come together and they can come and properly dispose of medications. If that's something that you're interested in, we do that with PBSO as well.
Okay.
I'm sorry, was there another question? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you,
Does
Chief.
PBSO have a report for us? Thank you so much. Does PBSO have a report for us to read?
Good evening, Lieutenant Darla Sowers with Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office. In February, we had a total of 1,796 calls for service. Of those, 89% of those calls were self-initiated by deputies. Just breaking that down a little bit further, it was business and residential checks, 1,434. And traffic stops were at 171. And Unfortunately, we did have a spike in construction burglaries. We had a total of 9 for the month of February. But to elaborate on that real quick, of those 9, 6 of them were where we suspect that it was juveniles that were entering the residence and doing vandalism. Deputies were fortunate enough to check out with some individuals, and since meeting with them, there was a drastic drop in those vandalisms, and the other 3 were where an appliance or 2 were stolen from the construction home. Outside of that, there was, and Mayor, you jinxed us, there was one stolen vehicle. Remember, we talked about that a while back?
Vehicle?
Yes, we talked about that not too long ago. But there was one stolen vehicle and it was a resident that was on vacation.
That's awful. Do we know the outcome of that? Was it recovered?
Unfortunately, there was no video, there's no leads because there was no video.
OnStar, no.
Nothing, no tracking devices. There's no way to track it right now, so.
Westlake's first stolen vehicle.
It is. You jinxed us because we talked about it. But that's really the conclusion of my report. Anybody have any questions?
Sounds like an inside job. Thank you. Comment, I believe Dr. Kaplan had a.
Anita Kaplan, 5459 Santa Rosa Lane. I have something very upbeat that I wanted to share and that we're very excited about. We have a very active women's club at Crestwind. And this year, we've come to an agreement to deliver 2 scholarships to graduating seniors at Seminole Pratt. This would be Seminole Ridge, not Seminole Pratt, Seminole Ridge on Seminole Pratt. The 2 would be, each would be $750, and we're looking for students that are staying in Florida and that are very committed to looking towards an education that would benefit the state in a variety of ways. So those are up now on the dais, I guess, and the bulletin boards. The counselors know about it. And I'm just mentioning, in case you have any students graduating, there are 752 scholarships available. That's it.
Thank you so much. That's awesome.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Ted Sarandis, 15780 Crestwind Place. And thanks for being so welcoming to me and my wife for 3 months. As someone who follows elected bodies really closely, I have a really, really important item for you and the council with regard to the agenda. Please make a fundamental change. Please delete the monthly financial report on the consent agenda. It's got to be disclosed. I'm asking you and the council to agree to have the city clerk publish the financials each and every month and disseminate them to us here as a member of the public. If that's not feasible, at least post it to the website every single month. But we need to know in detail the financials for the city every single month. It can't just be a consent agenda, and I'm sure that was maybe in the interest of time, but this is really, really important. The financials have got to be completely disclosed. I haven't been able to track them, so I've been on the website.
So when you're on our website,
Yeah.
you go to the regular council meetings, there's an agenda, click the packet icon.
Okay.
Packet's the full agenda with every.
It's challenging to try to
Luckily,
navigate
it's
that.
the first thing.
Right.
It's, the financials the
If
first.
there's a way to print it out, I would ask that we print it out and disseminate it prior to each city council meeting. Other municipalities do that. It's up to the mayor and the council to do that, but I would ask.
Published online.
They're online.
Right.
Yeah, you can download it.
Download
and
it,
print
but-
Download it and print it.
Come up-
Okay.
After the meeting, come up to me.
Okay.
I want to show you something.
Yeah, he'll show you, he'll walk you through.
Okay. And then the second thing is I would ask, particularly we had this great group, to see if you can talk to the landlord about opening up this door, add another row of chairs, and please ask the city clerk to provide more meeting agendas because we ran out tonight. Thank you very much.
Certainly, yeah. Attendance was definitely the best it's ever been. Hey, come on. Why stop now? Thank you, sir.
I was just talking to the
Jackie Campbell, Crestwind 15938. I forgot. Crestwind. I want to speak. And I was mentioning that we need some shopping around here for women. We're women, we love to shop. So he was saying that we don't, it has to go through our council, who is probably, I'm just asking you if it comes up that we get something for us women. We need some shopping. Well, not clothing, but something for us to, we need something. Yeah, Home Goods, or Ross,
I'm with
Marshalls, something like that.
Actually lease the space out to these businesses are listening because they're the ones who make the decisions.
Yeah, but will we
Certainly not the council.
approve them?
We approve the general use. I think that's kind of a misconception. We approve a general use. And if the landlord wanted a Home Goods to go in, they would lease it to us. And the council really, unless it's something crazy like adult oriented or liquor, the council really doesn't have the power to stop a business from coming in. It's the landowner and the landlord who can lease their space to who they want. And I hope they're listening because I love a Home Goods. I really do. Need a full length.
I love my Marshalls. We need a Marshalls.
Agree. It's not this body that decides.
Okay, so I'm just bringing it up, just in case it comes up. Thank you.
We're looking forward to coming up.
Definitely. Please, Ms. Torres.
Hi, it's me again, Alicia Torres, 5847 Whippoorwill Circle. Very disappointed that we did not get that Pod H amendment passed. Because really, I think they're so far along in the process. I think it was already, I agree with, Vice Mayor or your reasoning. Councilmember Werner, I understood why you said no, but Mr. Martinez, I'm kind of curious what your thought process was and why you said no.
I'll allow him to answer.
Well, we had a lot of great questions come up, and I just want to make sure I have all my facts straight before I give a definitive answer. And a lot of people were saying, no, it's a month's time, you're pushing us back. But ultimately, it's the life of Westlake that we're looking at when we approve something like this. It seems very right now, but ultimately, it is a long-term thing we are approving. I want to make sure we have all of our facts straight. We didn't deny it. We tabled it. We'll come back to it next.
I did get the green light last 15, 20 minutes or so to disclose the bank that signed a lease with Groves Plaza, which is the Winn-Dixie Plaza. So I will end with telling everybody that it's Chase Bank who has signed the lease there at Groves Plaza. That they've executed a lease.
I have to move in.
That's in the Winn-Dixie Plaza. So I will end on that note. We have one last public comment? No? Okay, we'll wait till next month. Meeting adjourned. My iPad died. Meeting adjourned at 8:36 p.m.